I'm so feeling excited today, my first ever podcast, and I've got amazing guests. The guest I kept secret from all of you. It's Akash Vaghela, and Akash is an amazing individual. He is owner of online fitness business. He's also author. He wrote his own book, which I've got here with me as well. And he's an amazing individual, transforming and helping so many people in this world. This is my introduction of Akash, but I'm sure there is more to him, and I would like to ask Akash to introduce himself to our audience.
Thank you,
Akash.
Julia. Thank you, Julia. I really appreciate the kind words. My name is Akash Vaghela. I run a transformation company called RNT Fitness with a mission to change people's lives through the power of holistic fitness. That's pretty much who I am. And I've written as you just held up in front of video. I've written a book called Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life, which documents the methodology that we've built, having worked with thousands of people all around the world, to not only get into the shape of their lives, but stay in the shape of their lives and ultimately use the physical as a vehicle to do something remarkable with it.
Absolutely. And, obviously I've got your book and I read it not even once, I read it twice, and I would love to read it again because I'm getting so much out of it. And your stories are very powerful as well, just to see your journey in terms of your health and fitness and your bodybuilding and discoveries that you've done along that journey. And, one thing that really stuck up for me here, when for my listeners, who is ever listening, you might be not aware, but Akash actually a professional bodybuilder, so he has taken part in some competition, right?
I've competed in bodybuilding. I'm not a professional bodybuilder,
Not
but
professional.
I'm not quite that good, but I've competed a few times on the internet on the UK scene. In 2014, I competed twice, in 2017, and then I haven't competed since then.
Anyone for me who has competed in that industry is professional, because you have to spend so much time and effort to obviously build yourself to the point that you're going on that stage, you're on a pedestal and everyone is judging you. So, but so you talk about that journey when you worked really hard and you achieve, obviously the figure, the physique that you needed for competition. And in fact, you won, right? You won one of the competitions, and you decided to treat yourself to go on holidays, for all-inclusive holidays. And very quickly, you've noticed that your body has changed very, basically all the hard work that you put in changed really quickly, and you piled on all the weight. And, coming back from holidays, you look completely different person to that person who looked and been on stage, right? Tell me more about that experience.
So in 2014, I decided to not just get lean, but get absolutely shredded. So people listening, wondering what that means, is getting to the condition that you'd be on a bodybuilding stage. So it's far beyond just beach lean. It's where you push yourself to an absolute extreme. And the reason why I wanted to do this was, as a personal trainer or as anyone in the fitness industry, I strongly believe that to take others to the extreme, you have to have gone to the extreme yourself. So I wanted to take myself to that extreme. Having never been there before, I had no idea what to expect coming out of it. I won a competition. I booked an all-inclusive holiday to Rhodes the next day, went to Rhodes, came back 7 days later, 7 kilos heavier, completely lost control of all my habits and systems. A further 6 weeks after that, I was 13 kilos up
Wow.
from stage weight. So I was heavier than when I started, about 8 to 10 weeks after the date. So you can imagine that's a rapid amount of weight gain. What happened after that is, for a whole year, I had a really poor relationship with food, where I was constantly yo-yoing between binging and then restricting and purging and doing things which are not part of a long-term lifestyle solution. And what that really taught me was how we become so obsessed with just getting into shape. We don't worry about rewiring our mindset to understand how to stay there and how to have control over our behaviors, our habits, and our relationship with food. And during that time, I was working as a personal trainer in the city, but I was testing my entrepreneurial spirit and doing a few side pursuits. And one of them was actually, and I'm so glad I didn't do it, but I almost opened up a dessert lounge. I got to the point where I had the business model written out, I had the lease ready to sign, everything was set. And last minute, I pulled out of signing on the building, because I was like, actually, this is just purely driven by my poor relationship with food right now. And I was constantly there, constantly frequenting dessert lounges. So thank God I didn't do that. And I waited to actually find what I ended up doing with RNT Fitness. But what it taught me was the need for a consolidation phase and a need to look beyond that first milestone of just getting into shape and to really think ahead of time what needs to be done to come out of a dieting phase in a healthy manner. And when you apply that consolidation approach, you can then get in shape and then stay in shape. But it's very difficult, and I learned the hard way, but it's why I'm so obsessed with it now. And in the last 7 years, ever since that moment, my ethos with working with clients is always, yes, okay, we'll get you into shape. That's the easy bit, but the hard bit is staying there.
I like your analogy. Again, in the book, you've used analogy going and climbing Mountain Everest, right? It's the safety. Once you peaked, fantastic, but it's just that safe.
Well, there's like, you get to the top of the mountain, you've got two options. You can either tumble down, get there as quick as possible back to the bottom. You're most likely going to trip up, fall down, and accumulate a lot of injuries on the way down. You get to the bottom, you're in worse place than when you started. Or you could take the safe passage home, which is slower. It's going to be a little bit bumpier. You're going to have to find the right paths home. You can't take the same way you came up with, but you will end up, once you do get to the bottom, in one piece. And that's the key here. And the reason why it is a difficult sort of ride back home and a difficult period to consolidate is because your mind is always playing tricks on you. When you diet, when you get into really good shape, your hormonal signals are off, your hunger signals are off, your sense of fullness and satiety is off, and you need time to recalibrate. There's nothing unhealthy about getting to that range, but you need time to recalibrate your body, recalibrate your systems, so you can then work on integrating this with your lifestyle afterwards.
Tell me more about those calibration. What do you mean by that? How they manifest themselves?
Well, it's giving your time. It's giving your body time to actually just adapt. So, if you know you're going to be hungrier, and you know you're going to not feel as full as you would normally. It's understanding that, having that awareness, and slowly increasing your calories and slowly decreasing your expenditure can help you get back to normal much better than just rapidly increasing your calories and rapidly reducing your expenditure, which is what typically most people do. And it's having an action plan to, like, take that safe passage home so you can recalibrate to the altitude, if you want to use the analogy a little bit further.
I like that analogy, yes. That's really relatable. So basically what you're saying, because there is so much focus in dieting industry on this short-term thinking, short-term goals, 8 weeks plan, 12 weeks plan, get beach body, get fit for specific occasion, but actually nobody is talking about life thereafter, and nobody is talking how to sustain that life thereafter, isn't it? And that's what, where you're focusing right now. That's what's really important for you.
Yeah, what's important to me is getting people in amazing shape and then teaching them how to stay there. I think there's also the other end of the spectrum people talk about, where it's like, okay, we're just focused on health and long-term lifestyle, but then the changes are so minimal, they don't actually get anywhere. And I think it's important that people really make serious changes and then learn how to keep it, rather than making small tweaks along the way and hoping you'll get there. Because I think while that sounds really good on paper, in reality, I've not seen it play out that well.
I suppose I can only relate this or compare this to any sports person, right? If you want to be good at anything, because like professional sports people, they are high achievers. So if you want to be high achiever, you obviously have to do lots of things and often, rather than small things and all over a period of long time, isn't it?
Exactly.
The results are not going to be there. Oh, thank you. That's actually really powerful insight. In terms of our health and fitness, and the perspective on that safe landing, safe coming back home. And like, actually it's really interesting what you mentioned about your experience during bodybuilding time and shredding, because that's one of the questions I've got from my audience. And like I've asked a couple of my followers if there are any questions that you would like to ask Akash. So one of them, actually, someone asked, in order to win, obviously, like bodybuilding competition, or if you're taking part, like get really, really shredded, there is lots of preparation and lots of dieting, lots of bodybuilders using dehydration technique, which obviously represents shock to the body. They're going a very, very low fat percentage. Would you say this is the healthy approach and people should copy the same regime?
No, you shouldn't. I wouldn't recommend manipulating water and playing around with sodium, etc. I think it's quite a dangerous thing to do, but also I think it's unnecessary as well, especially for natural athletes. If you're a natural athlete, you don't need to pay attention to sodium manipulation or water manipulation. If you're using exogenous substances like steroids, in that perspective, there may be benefit to manipulating water because the hormones you're using will manipulate your water levels and balances. But for the natural person, which I'm assuming most of your listeners are, there's no need to do it. I've tried water manipulation; it actually made me look worse. And I tried it in my first show, and it just didn't work for me. I probably didn't time it right, and all these sorts of things. Whereas for the second one, I was probably drinking the more water than anyone behind the scene. And when they drug tested me afterwards, they drug tested me, and I was the only one with clear urine. Everyone else was so dehydrated.
Full of, yeah.
They're just dehydrated. But what people forget is that the muscle needs water in order to look full. So if you're lean enough, you just need to stay hydrated, and that's the best way to present your physique.
It's the only, I know this is maybe not the best comparison, right? But the only comparison I can use is like chicken breast, right? If the chicken breast that we usually see in supermarket is pumped with water, so it looks very kind of juicy and full. Whereas if it's like really lean, it's kind of, yeah, like really, it can be shrunk, isn't it? So you can't really see the best of the muscle.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe this is not the best analogy I'm using. Yeah. Thank you for that. And so, like you actually started to, when you started to look into your career, I'm going to take you right back. I remember you mentioned that you wanted to become a lawyer, or your parents wanted you to become a lawyer, but you didn't. So you've chosen different paths. So you went to university. And so tell me more about that experience. What influenced you to come to, kind of to learn about the body and the humans rather being a lawyer?
So it was always, when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was follow in my father's footsteps and becoming a lawyer. It was never that they said you need to be a lawyer. It was more I just thought that's the best path forward. So I always wanted to follow my father's footsteps. So I picked all the right subjects. I did some cool work experience at a friend's firm in India. I did a German exchange in Aachen, which is near the German and Dutch border.
Mm-hmm.
And then two events happened when I was 17 years old. The first was that one of my best friends started going to the school gym and asked me to come along. And I resisted initially for a few weeks, but his persistence paid off when he told me it'll help me do better with girls.
Right, there was a caveat, right?
And that was the trigger. And I thought, all right, it might be worth trying. I was a skinny fat kid with moobs and a pot belly. And that appearance seriously dented my confidence and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt weak. And despite playing a lot of sports, I felt like I needed to do something about it. So I started training with my friend with, the intention of, fix my boobs and a pot belly, get more girls. And then I never expected what happened to happen. And I got completely bitten by the bug. So I started reading obsessively about health, fitness, nutrition, every moment I had, and it consumed all my daily thoughts. And at the same time, my body was starting to transform. And with it came a level of focus, control, and confidence I've never experienced. And I found it completely empowering and life-changing. And it was when I first discovered the power of the physical as the vehicle to be so much more in your life. Anyway, during the next summer holiday, that's where the second event happened. And my life started taking a different course because I was still set on becoming a lawyer. So I spent 2 weeks at the place where my dad works. And I was shadowing his colleagues, learning the ropes. And what was fun earlier, when I was given it was in India and Germany, and it was all like part of the travel experience, was now a complete bore. I was doing this in the city of London and just stuck in an office. And I thought, this is not what I want my life to look like. And when I returned to school, I was in a careers class with my best friend, the one who took me to the gym first. And I was meant to be perfecting my personal statement for law. But instead, I was reading nutrition articles on the internet. And my friend turned to me and said, Akash, why don't you do something in this instead of law? And the thought of that never crossed my mind before. So I started researching and found something called sport and exercise science. And I had no idea what career path they may take me on, as it wasn't very clear. 10 years ago, it wasn't quite a clear career trajectory, but I knew this is what I needed to do. And then overnight, I made the change. The first step was to tell my parents.
How was that? Tell me more. How did you deliver the news?
Well, I remember my dad was eating dinner, and my mom was just kind of around, and I just walked into the kitchen, and I was like, "Guys, I've got something to tell you. I'm not going to be doing law anymore. I'm going to do something called sport and exercise science." And the first step, the first response they had was, "How will you pay the bills?" And my response was just like, "I'll make it work." You know, coming from a South Asian background, the only career choices we typically have were finance, medicine, or law. And this was a completely different trajectory. And no one we knew in the community shared this path. And, you know, now it's very different in that there's more people from my community doing it. But back then, this was completely new. And the second step was to tell my head of year that I wanted to change my application. And I went to a school where, again, everyone was either doing economics, finance, and like just some of the core subjects at some of the top universities. And he replied with like a sarcastic comment that I didn't even register. But to me, that was like, I've made the decision, I was set. And looking back, there's no way I'd have had the confidence to make that bold decision at such a young age, because a lot of people I found they make that later on. But I look back and think, why did I make it at such a young age? Like, to know that, okay, I'm not going to do law, I'm going to do something which has no security and no real proven path.
Yeah, and despite all people, like you said, your head teacher and your parents disapproving, you still, and nobody actually set the path in your community. So it's not like you had example to say, oh, well, you know, they turn up all right, I'll be fine. You just had that strong feeling, right? Strong.
Well, yeah, I think there was two reasons. I think one of them was my first cousin. He died when he was 19, and I was only 15 years old. And I remember thinking and learning at a young age, thinking life is very short. And I think I had that lesson drilled into me very subconsciously at a young age. And I think the second part of the reason was actually my physical transformation. You know, we see people now when they get a physical transformation, they want to make bold decisions in their careers, their relationships, their life. I think I just had that at a very young age where I was like, okay, I got into physical shape, and I'm like, wow, I've changed something here. I want to do. It gave me the confidence to want to do it in my career. And I think I must have known deep down that that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, is to spread this message and to change other people's lives through fitness.
Because you experienced that yourself and you've seen the impact, dramatic impact it had on your life.
I saw it at such a young age, and I had this weird like obsession with it, but not from a obsession in like I'm obsessed with my body. I'm obsessed with learning. Like, I was just obsessed with reading all about nutrition, training, all the different methodologies and programming, and it just consumed all my thoughts. I wanted to know everything on the subject, and I wanted to use it on my friends and my family, and yeah, that's when I went to university, and this is when I first started helping people. So my first client, quote unquote client, was one of my best friends, who experienced a similar change to me, where he went from someone who with low confidence, low self-esteem, to making remarkable changes in life at such a young age. And I think that's when things started to click, like, I'm on this right path. There's something powerful here in this message. And then for the next few years, I worked in the university gym, helped my housemates make changes. I hosted mini classes in the flat living room, and just experimented with myself and others, like what worked, what didn't work. I was lucky that I was at university, so for 3-4 years, I could just help people for free and just test theories, like just test and experiment. And after graduating, I started working in a personal training facility in London, where I perfected my craft further, working with a lot of city executives, bankers, etc. But what happened then was I started to see my colleagues begin to have children. Now, as a personal trainer, the hours are very unsociable. You know, you're either very early in the morning, or you're very late at night, or lunchtime. In between that, you've got some lull periods. And I began to realize that, firstly, my diary was controlled by a client. You know, if you have a late cancellation at 4 a.m, it's not the nicest thing to wake up to. And I began to wonder if what I was doing was sustainable for having a family in the future. So, because I've seen my colleagues were not seeing their children, not being able to be an active father or mother. And luckily I was still helping people from university at this time and school. So they were scattered all over the country, and I was doing unofficial online training. Now it's so common. Back then, this was not a thing, right? And I didn't know it was a thing. And as my frustration of being bound by the clock kept growing, I decided to come up with a plan to make a change. And as I mentioned earlier, I'd always dabbled in various entrepreneurial pursuits, but none of them really took off because I wasn't interested in the core product. For example, there was clothing, there was dessert lounges, there was educational centers, there was stuff I played around with, but never really went all in on, which, as an entrepreneur, you have to be. And I was searching for something that really served my passion and purpose. And then at the same time, the online personal training industry was growing, and I saw more problems associated with it, such as the quick fix mentality, the poor client service, cookie cutter programming, etc. And then I remember a few weeks later, I was reading a book called The Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And I had a light bulb moment that propelled me to make the decision to change fast. I was on the beach in Lanzarote, and you have those weird moments when you're just away from the busyness of everything. And I told my friend at the time all about the idea, and then we just hatched the plan for RNT Fitness. So that's kind of how the trajectory
so it's like everything came together, like your experience of helping friends online, being away, then the knowledge and the passion that you already developed and transition just click in that moment for you.
Yeah, everything just came together. I was like, this is what I need to do. This is my calling.
Cool. So that's how boom and RNT Fitness arrived. And it's been 5 years.
It's been 4 and a bit years now. 4 years, 2 months as of recording.
It's amazing. And I mean, you've done so much with that business, and I see you developing online and things that you're doing, and it just it's really inspirational. And I think your mission statement is amazing as well. Something to be admired to. It's to change the fitness industry and the perceptions. I think it's just so much needed. That's for sure. I've got another question, which I think actually will link really, really well with physical is the vehicle. You mentioned that a few times, and that's in your book as well. So I want you to elaborate on that one. So the question is, does bodybuilding help you in your business career, and how? How differ would your business would be if you didn't go into bodybuilding? So
that's a great question. And is he talking about bodybuilding in specific? So
I think bodybuilding or maybe general, health and fitness.
Well, I think there's 2 things there. So the health and fitness in general, I think for fellow business owners and entrepreneurs and any career executives, high performers, I think of health and fitness as the best career/business development tool you can do for yourself. Because when you take control of your physical health, you're going to have more energy. You're going to have more clarity of thought. You'll be more productive. You're going to be less sick. You're going to have more focus. You're going to get more stuff done at a higher level as well, more creative. And just for those benefits alone, anyone who's interested in improving their business, improving their career, being the best they can be, it's a no-brainer to take care of your health and fitness and place it as a high priority. Now, the second part is around bodybuilding. And I think for the average person, it's probably around just going to the extreme. There's a difference between just being a bit healthier and actually wanting to go to the extreme and what that can teach you. For me, bodybuilding taught me a few things about business that few other things have done. The first is ruthless consistency. To get into bodybuilding condition, you have to be ruthlessly consistent over a long period of time. You can't just do it. Bodybuilding is a 24/7 endeavor. You can't do it for a couple of days of the week and then leave it after that. And just like with business, it's a 24/7 endeavor in that it becomes a part of you, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that was the biggest thing it taught me. And the second thing was actually the ability to grind. Most people see business as a glamorous, we only see the glamour of it, right? The reality is it's hard work. And a lot of the times we have to keep pushing and grinding through difficult times when you're in business. I think bodybuilding can teach you that relentlessness that few other things can teach you, because not only is it 24/7, but you have to push yourself so past your comfort zone for so long and for so consistently that few other things can create the same conditions and mindset that can do. And that's why I think everyone should go to the extreme at least once in their life, because you'll learn just how far you can push yourself and just how far you can go outside your comfort zone. And that's where the physical is the vehicle comes from. Because what we started to see was, as we started RNT, I started asking for feedback from people, and they'd say to me, my mindset's better than ever. My relationships are getting better than ever. I'm doing better in my career than I ever thought I would. No one was telling me about their physical changes. No one was telling me about how amazing shape they're in. That was starting to become a given. What was happening was that the physical was becoming the vehicle for all these other amazing things in their lives. And that's where the motto, the mantra came from. And after that, I was like, this makes complete sense, because this is exactly what happened to me back when I was 17 years old. If you can master your physical being, you have the confidence and the courage to master any domain in your life. You'll have the inward focus, the positive habits in place to push forward in any area you want to improve on. And that's why the physical is the vehicle.
Fantastic. So it's almost like a positive loop, right? That keep feeding and feeding, because you've done so well with physical, you achieve so much, it's kind of keep feeding you and pushing you to do other things.
Yeah, it's like if I can take control of my body, if I can push myself to the absolute extreme with my body, why can't I do something amazing in my career, in my business, in my relationships? Anything is possible.
And like you talk about the grind stage, how do you sell that to your client?
Pretty much what I just said there. Like that's what you unlock if you're willing to push yourself through it. The problem is not many people are willing to push themselves through it because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to. It's easy to get into a reasonable shape. To get into an amazing shape, it's hard. Like that next level is difficult, but it's where all the growth happens, in my opinion. I think you sell yourself short if you stop before the grind, because you don't unlock the real 24/7, all-consuming. I need to operate on low energy, on low resources. But in that, you also learn what's important to you. You learn what's essential to you. Learn what's good use of your time and energy. Because when you're on low calories and you're doing a lot of activity, you don't want to be spending energy on people that are draining you. You don't want to be doing things that are draining you. You start auditing your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things of the grind, is that you become an essentialist. And few things can do that for you. It's easy to start talking about it when when there's no restriction on you. But when you create that environment, there's a way I describe it in the book. It's like orchestrated suffering. And I think it's obviously an elaborate term, but it is an orchestrated method of suffering, right? I don't like calling it suffering, because it's all self-induced, right? But it's orchestrated in a way to audit your life, to make changes and to act on it. But the trick then is to identify it all. When you consolidate and you come out the other side and you've got all the energy and you're in the best shape of your life and energy and you're feeling great, then you take action on it, because transformation happens with introspection plus action.
Mm-hmm. So that grind period is necessary in order to come out on the other side.
Yeah, you identify what you want to make changes on, you consolidate, and then you take action on the investment phase.
Fantastic. That's really powerful insight. And, I love what you just described. Your phrase, physical is the vehicle. And the experience that when you were waiting for feedback from your clients, nobody's actually mentioned body changes. Everyone just was talking about the mental transformation and abilities and new opportunities that they're able to experience and things that they're able to do. And I think, lots of people forget about that, because we've got so much of our self-image, right, and awareness of the way we look, that we also do forget that fitness, it's not just about the looks, right? It's much more than that. It's about the mental health of your brain, because it's all connected, right? Your mind and your body is connected. So not many fitness industry do talk about that. So it's very powerful that you have.
It works both ways, because the physical is a vehicle, but at the same time, the body is a representation of the mind. So it works both ways. And that's why you have to do not only the external work, but the internal work. The internal work is what will keep you in shape long term.
So, for example, if you, let's say, if you would have hired, and I'm guessing that's where lots of maybe people do fail. Like if you hired personal trainer, maybe like you've got, I don't know, wedding coming up. I will talk about that in a minute. And you just want to get into the shape, right? The best shape. So you might hire a personal trainer, and he just grinds you consistently, I don't know, for a period of 4-6 weeks. But then if your mental state hasn't changed, as soon as that personal trainer has gone, the chances are you're going to come back to your old habits and everything very high, isn't it?
If you're just relying on external sources of accountability or inspiration or motivation, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's why people that do it for the gram, as an example, they usually end up just rebounding afterwards.
Yeah, I remember that realization came to me because actually when I was exploring my fitness journey, and like being busy mom, entrepreneur, I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire a personal trainer, and I know that twice a week he's going to knock on my door, rain or shine, and he's going to get me out on the pitch, and he's going to make me sweat. And in this way, I know that I've ticked the boxes. But then realized, actually, how wrong was I'm thinking? I'm giving responsibility of my health and fitness to someone else's hands. Doesn't make any sense. What if that guy or that person or woman, whatever, just gone, right? Disappeared for whatever reason. Like that means that my importance of my health and fitness disappearing with them. Like this is just was one of the biggest kind of thinking about it. Obviously personal trainers there in place to help you to get yourself better techniques, like get into shape that you want, but responsibility ultimately lies with you, not with them, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you don't take responsibility and ownership of your own journey, it's going to be a very short one.
I like that. And also like there is one area I really want to discuss with you, because I think that's where I'm meeting. So I work a lot with women, right? And I talk to them about using weights and exercising with weights rather than your traditional Zumba or dance classes or whatever, swimming. But I think lots of them not only petrified going to the gym and using gym area with weights, but actually the idea and thought of, because let's admit it, right? Weights kind of quite masculine looking product, right? They're mean and ugly and big and heavy, and they're usually like black, in terms of color. I mean, you can get different color weights those days, but most of the time, right? So like personally, I'm not put off by that. I'm really like embracing challenges, and if I can prove that, like, not that I'm competing with men, but I'm really, really pushing myself in an area of equality. But I can totally see someone who never done weights before can be petrified, maybe intimidated by even the idea and the thought, weighting lifts and doing that type of activity and work. But what is the benefits of having weights?
Well, I think for women, most women want to be toned, right? They want to be toned. What do you think being toned is?
Yeah, that's a good question, because like I was asking that myself, and I think obviously toned, it's like you don't get saggy arms, and like your tummy is not hanging, right? It's all kind of plumb and lifted.
Well, there's actually no scientific definition of being toned. Toned is just quite literally more muscle mass and low body fat. That's it. So most women who say they want to be toned, what they're actually saying is, I want more muscle and I want less body fat. What's the best way to build muscle?
Weight training.
Exactly. So that's the answer. Like, if there's a reason why women are wondering, should I lift weights? Should I not lift weights? If you want to be toned, if you want to have shaped arms, if you want to have a perky bum, if you want to have nice shoulders and arms, and you want to get rid of your bingo wings or whatever it may be, all these things are just a terminology that women magazines have promoted. The reality is you need to build muscle and lose body fat. How do you do that? Good nutrition to drop the body fat, and progressive resistance training to build muscle. And that's why I think most women should embrace it, because you'll not only get toned, which is what most women want, but you'll also get the strength benefits. You'll feel a lot stronger. in day-to-day life. It's something empowering about lifting heavy weights as well that I find a lot of women experience, where you're getting stronger. When you start lifting heavier weights, you feel more empowered, and also it takes it away from the dieting, burning calories mentality, because when you focus on resistance training, you can focus on progression and focus on strength, and that's something empowering and also very healthy about that, as opposed to I just want to exercise to burn calories, which is what a lot of these classes and cardio sessions can end up creating in terms of your mental relationship to it. So I think strength is a massive one, and then obviously the bone health, cardiac health, long-term injury prevention. There's all these benefits of resistance training as well that goes way beyond just simply muscle mass. But women shouldn't fear muscle mass. They're not, whenever I hear a woman saying, I don't want to look like a bodybuilder, it's like, if it was that easy, you see a lot of guys looking like bodybuilders as well, right? It's not going to happen from a hormonal perspective, for multiple other reasons. It's not going to happen. So all the benefits I see in women who lift weights progressively and consistently is more strength, more confidence, more empowerment, and ultimately the toned body that you always wanted.
That makes total sense, because yes, there are lots of women who just absolutely terrified to look like bodybuilders, or professional bodybuilders. And I usually do say, if it was that easy, right? Because those women that you do see, they exercise like 6 times a week, if not 7, and they're on a very strict regime of nutrition, and to get there it takes years. It's not gonna takes.
If you've got a woman bodybuilder, they're probably using other stuff as well. So that's something. Like, if you look at the female bodybuilders, and this is male bodybuilders as well, where when guys get distorted reality checks, is there obviously there's performance enhancing drugs that are involved, and that can distort your reality and perception of what actually happens. For example, with guys, they get scared about going below a certain body weight because they think, oh, I'm going to be too skinny then. But they don't realize that they've overestimated how much muscle mass they have and underestimated how much body fat they have. And the people they're comparing themselves to are all on steroids. So that can make a massive mental perspective in terms of losing that comparison, but also losing the fear that that's what's going to happen, because you're not going to turn into a bodybuilder. That hormonally it's just not going to happen. And secondly, that's the 0.0001%.
So basically what you're saying, that women can safely pick up the weights, and if they want to achieve that toned figure, lifted bum, get rid of bingo wings, this is the way to do it, really.
That compiled with proper nutrition is yes, that's the best way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for shining light on that subject, and kind of sharing your experiences, because I think that will help so many women out there who are listening right now and maybe considering weights or not, but thinking about those factors of looking a specific way. And certainly the effect I had on my body, seeing myself shaping and achieving things that I never actually had when I was in my 20s. Because when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I used to go to the gym consistently 4 times a week, used to spend like hours, but actually not doing things properly. And I think I was wasting lots of my time, not actually achieving the result I wanted. So I really, really struggled to get the physique that I wanted. But now, having the right guidance and knowing what I'm doing, I can see my body sculpting, and it just it's like you said, when you start seeing that, it's feeding that positive message into your brain, and gives you self-confidence to think that whatever you put your mind towards, you can achieve. And you physically, you see the results as well. It's not like something you wish for and you can't see the result, right? Like you wish maybe peace in the world and you can't see it. This is very, very like quick change that you can see within yourself, and it's much, much rewarding as well. Thank you so much. Let me just check if I've got one more question, and we'll wrap up our podcast. I think I've asked that one. Why did you choose bodybuilding over other sports? We talk about your journey coming to that. And I want to finish our show on your personal life, because I know you've got big events happening, which is your big date, your wedding, right? Is that what, in about 6 months' time?
No, 4 weeks today.
4 weeks. Oh my God, time
4
is
weeks
flying.
today. Yeah.
So, right, tell me more about your preparation. No pressure, right? As a health fitness industry professional, do you feel the pressure? Because all the brides usually do around that date.
To look a certain way, or
Yeah,
to
yeah, to look certain way.
in day-to-day life, or do you mean for the wedding?
Suit for the wedding, yeah, for the big
Okay,
date.
so I typically hold. I found a sweet spot for me where I feel, look, and perform at my best, and I find it very effortless to stay in that body weight range throughout the year. And I've stayed in a certain body weight range for about 16 to 18 months now. And I thought, with the wedding coming around the corner, I got my first ever tailored suit. I've never had a tailored suit in my life because every time my body changes so much, whether I'm investing or dieting for bodybuilding or whatever, I've never had the opportunity to get one. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to invest in a tailored suit for my wedding. And I got my measurements taken. And then I was like, you know what, I wouldn't mind being a little bit leaner just because I know, I look really good in photos at a certain body weight. I thought, let me just get a little bit leaner. But I thought I've also got to make sure I time it with the suit fitting. So I've got my suit fitting done, and I know it'll be coming in the next couple of weeks. And then my aim is to try and aim on my optimal shape for that suit thing, and then just hold it there. It's not like photo shoot lean. It's not bodybuilding lean, but it's like beach lean.
Beach lean.
Beach
Okay,
lean. So then
cool.
I can go away and look good on the beach. But
Yeah. Do you have your honeymoon planned already?
well, it's more. We're going to do this in the UK just because
Mhm.
it's because of the circumstances, and then we'll try and do a proper one later on in the year.
Cool. Fantastic. So you getting your body for the suit shape, right? You want to
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
there consistently.
I've always wanted to have this tailored suit. I thought in my mind, it's always been like a very tapered in suit. And I thought for that, I want to find my optimal shape where one thing I've realized that there's always a cool experiment is because I've been at every bodyweight range. I've gone all the way up to 90 kilos and my bodybuilding stage weight is like 70 to 72. So I
Mhm.
know where I am at each type of body weight. And I know there's a certain range where I'm lean, but I also look pumped, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm going for. Because if I drop below a certain weight, then I just start looking more gaunt, and I look too like drawn in. Whereas if I go slightly higher, yeah. So I'm basically going for my optimal shape and see how it looks.
You've got your sweet spot right
Yeah,
outlined. That's amazing, actually, to be able to have that journey within your weight and the way you look, and find that sweet spot and know exactly like this is my best looking, right?
yeah.
Um,
And what's funny is that place where I look the best is also it's not necessarily my leanness, but where I feel like I look good. It's also where I feel amazing.
mhm.
So, for example, where I am now, which is pretty much the right range, my energy's through the roof. I'm no cravings, no food focus. Um, Training is going amazing, strength is going amazing, and that's what people should be striving towards. You're not trying to stay as lean as possible. The aim is to find that sweet spot, which tends to be around 10 to 15%, well, 5 to 15% above your lowest. And that's where you feel amazing, you look really good, and you perform at a high level. That's where the aim should be to sit in. That's what being in shape for life is all about.
Fantastic. So you said 10 to 15% above your.
5 to 15%, depending on how lean you get.
Mhm.
Um, but it ranges for everyone. Some people feel amazing 10% above their lowest. Some people feel amazing 5% above their lowest. Some people feel amazing 15% above their lowest. But you have to go through all the gears in order to find where you are.
I like
That's
that.
why it's really important that everyone, you don't just try and hold on to being as lean as possible, because that's not sustainable. To
Mhm.
find something sustainable, you need to find where you feel, look, and perform. You need the whole trifecta.
I love that. And being brave as well to experiment, right, with your
Yeah.
body and go into those territories, and not
Yeah.
to think that you have to be specific weight and this is it. And,
Yeah.
like, just embrace that, because you can always change. That's the thing, amazing thing about our body. It's so adaptable and
Mm.
changeable
Mm.
that, yeah, you can do that.
I mean, if you prove that you've got control of it and you have a healthy relationship with that, going up in body weight in a controlled way just to see how it feels is very powerful, because then you can be like, oh, I actually feel too sluggish now. I'm starting to feel like my energy is not as high as it was. Let me just dial it back a bit. Because you've got control of it, it's all under your own mastery. It's not a case of, I've lost control, I'm gained weight, now I need to gain it back. That's the yo-yo, mate. This
Mm-hmm.
is more strategic. This is more performance oriented. This is what high performance is all about. It's finding where do you feel, look, and perform your best, and then how can you optimize that to do amazing things in your life.
It's almost like fine tuning the car, right? You just want to fine tune. You want to tweak all the dials, and you experiment until the sound, the engine at its most powerful, the most performance you can get out of it. And
Love it.
yeah, I love that as well. Well, Akash, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to interview you, and there is so much knowledge that you have shared with us and inspiration. And I hope the listeners have enjoyed it as well. And if you do have any comments or questions, please, please, please leave them for me, and I can pass on to Akash. But also, no doubt, I'll be scheduling another podcast with you because I enjoy this one so much, and I've got so many questions still in my head that I really want to explore with you. But I would like to leave today's podcast on one note, and I usually ask my guests is to share one lifestyle hack that we can all implement to better our lives. So, is there anything that you would like to share?
First one that comes to mind is find ways you can reduce decision fatigue as much as possible. What I mean by this is find menial tasks in your day that you can automate. For example, it could be a personal uniform that you have on a daily basis. It could be the same meals you have for breakfast, lunch, and then you alternate your dinners. It could be your general structure in the day. Whatever it is, we don't need to spend time thinking about menial tasks in our day. And when we open up bandwidth for what truly matters, you'd be surprised how much easier it is to live a healthier lifestyle because everything just runs on systems as opposed to spur of the moment choices.
I love that. So, for example, I'm just going to relate this to busy women, right? So maybe they can do shopping online and schedule that happening.
Yeah,
Maybe they can have cleaners in the house rather than doing chores themselves. They can have capsule wardrobe, not going through this decision fatigue each morning. What do I wear this morning? Maybe they, prepping all the meals, right? For, like I said, for breakfast and lunch. So all those little things will enable you to have space in your brain ultimately, that then you can then use that to focus on things that really matters. And like I'm guessing your family, your relationships, your career, business, whatever that might be.
absolutely. Hit the nail on the head.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and good luck for your wedding. I'll be watching the social media news for the big day pictures. And you'll be knowing that you've got tailored suit on you as well. And I'm sure you're going to look your best, both of you. And yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you, Akash.